Because, but natural, they are paying the money for the administration, for the rent, for the salary, which is not taken into account. So, but natural, even the bank is not going scot-free. Even the bank is sharing a loss, though it is a lesser percentage as compared to the depositor. This is the system in the Islamic banking. Now let's come to the project financing. Suppose a businessman, he wants a loan. He wants money from the Islamic bank. The first system is the Mudaraba system. That is, a businessman comes to the bank and says that I have a project of 6 months. And this project requires 50,000 rupees. At the end of 6 months, I will get a return of 1 lakh rupees. That is 50,000 rupees profit. Is the Islamic bank willing to give me 50,000 rupees for 6 months? But naturally the Islamic bank analyzes the business, what sort of business is doing, is the business viable, what is the profit return, etc., etc. Then the Islamic bank and the entrepreneur and the businessman, they sit across the table and they finalize the ratio of profit that they should share. Say for example, the Islamic bank says, I will take 3 parts of the profit, the businessman gets 2 parts of the profit. Means 60% of the profit, whatever the businessman is making, will go to the Islamic bank, 40% will go to the entrepreneur, to the businessman. The deal is fixed, it can be negotiated. In the modern bank, the interest is negotiated. In the Islamic bank, the profit ratio is negotiated. So the businessman says, I require 50,000 for doing business for 6 months. In that 50,000, also, if he's working for his business, his salary is included. If he's not working, if he employs other people only, his salary is not included. But if he also works, say for example, an average person working may require 2,000 per month. So he gets paid 2,000 per month from that 50,000 rupees. For 6 months it will come, 6 multiplied by 2,000, he gets 12,000 rupees at the end of 6 months. This is taken into account, and the remaining money, the remaining 38,000 of the 50,000 is utilized on buying of goods and the administration. So from the 50,000, even 12,000 salary of that entrepreneur for 6 months is taken into account. Now after 6 months, he makes a profit of 50,000. He gets the total return of 1 lakh rupees. But natural, the capital sum of 50,000 is given back to the bank. And the remaining 50,000 profit is shared on the profit ratio predetermined. Bank, Islamic bank, takes 60%. That is 30,000 rupees. And the businessman keeps 40%, that's 20,000 rupees. So at the end of 6 months, the businessman gets 20,000 rupees profit as well as 12,000 rupees salary for his labor. If instead of making 50,000 profit, the businessman makes 40,000 profit. So the bank takes 60% of 40,000. That is 24,000 rupees. And the businessman, he takes 40% of the 40,000. He keeps 16,000. If the businessman makes 60,000 profit, the bank keeps 60% of 60,000. That is 36,000 rupees as profit. And the businessman keeps 40%. That is 24,000 rupees of the profit. So bigger the profit, bigger is the share for the Islamic bank as well as the businessman. Lesser is the profit, lesser is the share for the businessman and the bank. But suppose the businessman goes in loss. The complete loss is borne by the Islamic bank. And the bank in turn passes that loss to the depositor. But technically, even the businessman is going in loss for his thinking, for the time he has wasted 6 months, etc. He has been paid for the labor, but not for the other charges, for his thinking, for his whatever ideas he had. Technically, even he is going in loss. The major difference in Mudaraba system is that the bank has no right to interfere with the management of the business of the entrepreneur. It can take accountability every month, every week, no problem, how the business is running. But it can't interfere with the management. Suppose the businessman wants to build a building of 10 stories. So the bank cannot say, instead of 10 stories, build more, 12 stories. You can't interfere with the business. Instead of using A-grade cement, you use B-grade cement for more profit. The bank cannot interfere with the management of the businessman in the mudaraba system. The second type of trading is called as a musharika system. It's called as partnership. In this, the bank has a right to interfere with the management of the business. It can give guidance. It can tell that instead of producing a particular article, you can produce another article. Instead of building a 10-story building, you build a 12-story building. In this system of musharika, the businessman has got part of the capital. The part of the capital it takes from the bank. Now, depending upon the ratio of investment, suppose both have paid 50%, 50% capital is paid by the businessman, 50% capital is paid by the bank. Whatever profit is there is again shared in the ratio which is predetermined. Say for example, it's 50%, 50%. Whatever profit the people make, 50% goes to the bank, 50% goes to the businessman. If there is loss, the loss is also shared on a predetermined ratio. In the mudaraba system, the loss is completely borne by the bank. In the musharika system, the loss is shared on a predetermined ratio, though the ratio is different from the sharing of profit. Suppose the sharing of profit is 50% by the bank, 50% by the businessman. The sharing of loss is at a different ratio. The bank bears more loss. For example, the bank, if the business goes in loss, the bank will share 60% of the loss and the businessman will share 40% of the loss. This is the musharika system. The third type is the murhaba. In the murhaba system, suppose you want to purchase a particular machinery from Japan. The machinery costs 1 lakh rupees. In the modern bank, you open an LC, a letter of credit, or a TR, called trust receipt. And you put the money in the bank, and the bank buys the machinery from Japan, the modern bank, and whatever time it takes for the transaction, it charges a fixed interest on that. In the Islamic bank, you put the amount in the Islamic bank. The businessman, since he does not want to go to Japan to buy the machinery, he tells the Islamic bank, you buy the machinery for me, on my behalf. So you put that money as wakala in the bank, 1 lakh rupees, or whatever the amount is. You put, and the Islamic bank buys the machinery on behalf of the businessman. And the Islamic bank, when it gets the machinery, it has a right to charge a profit, a commission or service charge, whatever you call it. Say the Islamic bank says that we buy the machinery for 1 lakh rupees from Japan. When we give it to you in Bombay, we want 3,000 rupees profit, or 3,000 rupees commission, or 3,000 rupees service charge. Islam gives permission. It's called, in the Islamic terminology, as ujara. It's allowed in Islam. Profit is allowed. But this profit can be negotiable. The businessman can say, instead of 3,000, you take a profit of 2,500, or whatever it is. The profit is negotiable. Suppose you have part of the finance, or you don't have finance at all for purchasing that particular machinery. You can interlink, you can combine murhaba system with the mudareba or with musharika. For example, you have part of the money,